checked his rifle for the third time that morning. The weapon was clean, loaded, and ready. Everything on Arcturus Prime had been quiet for weeks, but he never took chances. His job as a security officer meant protecting the mining colony, and he took that seriously. The mining facility stretched across the red dust of the planet's surface. Massive drills pulled precious metals from deep underground. 200 humans worked here along with their families. It was a hard life, but it was honest work. The colony had existed for 5 years without major trouble. Today was different. The Empire had sent their Empress for a diplomatic visit, had seen the elegant alien ships land that morning. There were tall, graceful beings with silver skin and eyes that seemed to glow. They had been humanity's cautious neighbors for 2 decades. Not friends, not enemies, just careful partners in trade. Walked through the mining sector, his boots crunching on the rocky ground. His radio crackled with routine check-ins from other security teams. Captain Helen Cross ran a tight operation. Everyone knew their posts. The Empress's visit would go smoothly. He stopped at the eastern perimeter. Beyond the fence, the wilderness of Arcturus Prime stretched for miles, nothing but rocks, dust, and dangerous wildlife. His scanner showed normal readings, no movement, no threats. That was when the first explosion hit. The blast came from the northern sector, near the main buildings, spun around and saw black smoke rising into the pale sky. His radio erupted with voices, all talking at once. "We're under attack, raiders, multiple ships. The Empress's convoy is pinned down. All security personnel respond immediately." Started running toward the main colony. His heart pounded in his chest. The Horde were brutal raiders who attacked frontier settlements. They took what they wanted and killed anyone who resisted. But why attack now? Why when the Empress was visiting? He rounded a corner and nearly ran into a group of miners. 5 men and 3 women, all wearing work suits. They looked terrified. "Officer," one of them shouted, "there are raiders everywhere. They came out of nowhere." Grabbed his radio. "Captain Cross, I have civilians at Sector 7, requesting support." Static answered him, then more explosions. His radio was dead, probably jammed by the raiders. "Everyone follow me," ordered. "We need to get you to the emergency bunkers." He led the group toward the nearest shelter, a reinforced storage building about 200 yards away. They were halfway there when the raiders appeared. 6 warriors dropped from the sky on personal flight packs. They were massive creatures, 8 feet tall with thick armor and weapons that hummed with energy. Their faces were hidden behind helmets but knew what they looked like. He had fought them before, years ago in the military. "Run," pushed the civilians toward the building. "Get inside and lock the doors." He raised his rifle and fired. The first shot hit him in the chest. The raiders' shields flared but held. They were heavily armored, fired again, aiming for the joints in the armor. The second shot found its mark. They stumbled and fell. The other 5 raiders opened fire. Energy bolts screamed past his head. He dove behind a mining cart, rolling to cover. The cart's metal sides glowed red as the enemy fire hit it. Counted his ammunition. 43 rounds left, 6 raiders, probably more coming. The math was not good. He leaned out and fired 3 quick shots. 1 raider went down, the others scattered, taking cover behind equipment and buildings. They were smart, disciplined. This was not a random attack. This was planned. The civilians had made it to the storage building, saw them seal the door. Good, at least they were safe for now. His tactical display showed red markers across the colony. The Empress's convoy was 300 yards west, completely surrounded. Her guards were fighting hard, but they were outnumbered. More red markers appeared every second. The colony was being overwhelmed. Made a decision. If he could draw these raiders away from the civilians, if he could make enough noise, maybe the main security force could rescue the Empress. Maybe some people would survive this. He checked his grenades. 2 fragmentation, 1 smoke, it would have to be enough. Threw the smoke grenade first. Gray fog erupted across the area. He ran to a new position, firing as he moved. The raiders followed him just as he planned. They wanted to kill him. Fine, let them try. He reached a better defensive spot, a concrete barrier near the mining equipment. From here, he could see the western approach. The Empress's royal guard were fighting desperately. Their elegant armor was scorched and damaged. Bodies lay on the ground, both end. Then he saw her, the Empress herself, standing in the center of her remaining guards. Even in the chaos of battle, she moved with grace. Her armor was white and gold, marked with symbols did not understand. She fought with a weapon that looked like a spear, cutting through raiders with precise strikes. She was magnificent, and she was losing. More dropships appeared in the sky, dozens of them. This was not a raid, this was an invasion. Its radio suddenly crackled to life. All personnel fall back to Central Command. Repeat, fall back to Central Command. But could not fall back. The civilians in the storage building depended on him. If he left, the raiders would find them. He was the only thing standing between innocent people and death. He settled into position and started firing. One raider fell, then another. His ammunition counter dropped, 37 rounds, 32, 28. They were getting closer. They had figured out where he was. They were surrounding his position. Pulled out his last fragmentation grenade. He waited until 3 raiders were close together, then threw it. The explosion was deafening. 2 raiders died instantly. The third was wounded but kept coming. Shot it twice in the head, it finally went down. 15 rounds left. He saw movement on his tactical display. The Empress's convoy was trying to break through to safer ground, but more raiders were moving to cut them off. If they succeeded, the Empress would be captured or killed. The diplomatic mission would end in disaster. War between humanity and the Empire might follow. Looked at the storage building where the civilians hid, then at his ammunition counter, then at the western sector where the Empress fought. He could not save everyone, he was just one man. The Empress L watched her tactical display with growing concern. Red markers filled the screen. Raiders were everywhere. Her royal guard was fighting bravely, but they were outnumbered 3-1. This was supposed to be a peaceful diplomatic visit. Instead, it had become a battlefield. "Your Majesty, we must retreat to the ships," Commander On shouted over the sound of weapons fire. "We cannot hold this position." El knew he was right, but retreating meant abandoning the human colonists. It meant leaving innocent people to die. That was not the way. Honor demanded they protect the weak regardless of species. "We hold," she said firmly. "Prepare defensive formation, Sigma." Her guards obeyed without question. They formed a tight circle around her, their energy shields overlapping. It was a strong defense, but it could not last forever. Then something on her display caught her attention. A single blue marker in the eastern sector. A human security officer fighting alone. She watched as the marker moved deliberately toward a group of enemies. Watched as red markers disappeared one by one. Someone was making a stand. Elle zoomed in on that section of the battlefield. Her ship's sensors showed her everything. One human soldier protecting a building full of civilians. He was outnumbered at least 10-1. His ammunition was running low. He should have retreated minutes ago. But he did not retreat. He advanced. "Commander, who is that human?" she asked, pointing at the display. On checked his own scanner. "Security officer according to colony records. Why do you ask, Your Majesty?" "Because he is creating a diversion. Look at the enemy movement patterns. The raiders near his position are pulling away from our convoy. He is drawing them to himself." On studied the tactical map. His eyes widened. "By the ancestors, you are correct. He is sacrificing himself to give us an opening." Elle made a decision that would change everything. "Commander, take half the guard and move towards Central Command. I'm going to help that human." "Your Majesty, no. We cannot risk your life for one soldier." "That one soldier is risking his life for all of us," Elle said quietly. "I will not dishonor his courage by abandoning him. Besides, his position is tactically important. If we hold that sector, we can prevent the raiders from surrounding us completely." On looked like he wanted to argue, but he knew better. When the Empress made a decision based on honor, nothing would change her mind. "As you command," he said, "but I am coming with you." Elle selected her 4 best warriors. Together, they broke away from the main convoy and ran toward the eastern sector. Energy bolts flew around them. One of her guards went down. The others kept moving. They reached position just as his rifle clicked empty. He threw the weapon aside and drew a combat knife. A raider charged at him, dodged the first strike, moved inside the raider's reach, and drove his knife into a weak point in the armor. The fell, but 2 more were right behind it. "Human soldier," Elle called out in English, "get down." Dropped flat, Elle and her guards opened fire. Their weapons were more powerful than human rifles. The raiders' shields collapsed under the assault. Both enemies fell within seconds. rolled to his feet, staring at her. "You're the Empress." "And you are very brave," Elle replied. She tossed him an energy pistol. "Can you use this?" Caught the weapon and checked it quickly. "The controls are different, but I can figure it out. Why did you come here? Your convoy needs you." "My convoy has enough guards. You have none. And those civilians in that building need protection." A sound like thunder rolled across the battlefield. More dropships were landing, at least 20 of them. Hundreds of raiders would be pouring out soon. Looked at the approaching ships, then at Elle. "You should not have come. You are too important to die here." "And you are not." Elle took position beside him, her spear ready. "We all have value, human. Now tell me about these defenses. I assume you chose this position for a reason." Nodded. "The mining equipment creates natural choke points. They cannot attack us from all sides at once, and I can trigger explosives in the tunnels behind us if we need to collapse the approach routes." Good tactical thinking. In military doctrine, we call this an anchor point strategy. We call it making the enemy come to us so we can kill them easier. Elle laughed. It was a sound of genuine amusement, strange in the middle of a battle. "I think I like human military doctrine." The first wave of new raiders approached, and Elle opened fire together. The Empress moved with incredible speed, her spear cutting through the air. Shots were precise, each one finding a weak point in enemy armor. They fell into a rhythm without planning it. Would fire to suppress the enemy, and Elle would strike when they took cover. When raiders got too close, she would drive them back and would finish them. Commander On and the other guards held the flanks. Together, the small group created a defensive line that seemed impossible to break. "You fight well for a security officer," Elle said between strikes. "You have military training." "Marines, 5 years," replied, shooting a raider that tried to flank them. "Got out, thought I was done with war. Guess I was wrong." "There is no shame in being a warrior. My people believe that courage in battle reveals true character." "What does my character reveal?" asked. "That you would die to protect people you have never met, that you stand when others would run. These are the marks of honor." An explosion rocked the ground near them, grabbed Elle's arm and pulled her behind a metal barrier just as debris rained down. They ended up very close, pressed against each other in the small space. "Thank you," she said. "You saved my life first," pointed out. "I figured I owed you one." They looked at each other for a moment, human and, from different worlds, different cultures, but in that moment they understood each other perfectly. The moment broke as more raiders attacked, and Elle returned to fighting, moving in coordination now. They had learned each other's patterns, each other's rhythms. Tactical display showed human reinforcements approaching from the south. Captain Cross and her Marines were fighting through the raiders, trying to reach them, but they were still minutes away, minutes that felt like hours. "I am sharing my tactical codes with you," Elle said suddenly. She pressed something on her armor. Display lit up with new information, showing guard positions, communication frequencies, and strategic assessments. Stared at the data. "Your Majesty, this is classified military intelligence. You should not give this to me." "You are fighting beside me. You have proven trustworthy. My guards need to coordinate with you if we are to survive. Pride serves no purpose when death approaches." Access the new codes. Suddenly he could communicate with On and the other guards. He could see their ammunition levels, their shield strength, everything. "Commander, this is," he said over the channel. "I have access to the mining explosives. If you can drive the raiders toward tunnel entrance 7, I can collapse it and cut off their reinforcements." "Understood, human," On replied. "We will push them toward you. Be ready." The guards changed their tactics, forcing the raiders to group up near the tunnel entrance. Waited until the moment was perfect, then triggered the explosives remotely. The ground shook, dust and rock exploded upward. When it settled, the tunnel entrance was completely blocked. The raiders on the other side were cut off from their friends. "Excellent work," Elle said. "See, Commander, humans and fight well together." "If we survive this, Your Majesty, I will never doubt you again," On responded. But the battle was far from over. The main force of raiders was regrouping. They were bringing heavy weapons now, massive guns that could punch through any armor. Looked at his ammunition counter. The pistol was down to 20% power. Elle's spear was scorched from heavy use. The guards were exhausted. They had fought well, but it might not be enough. "Whatever happens," said to Elle, "thank you for standing with me." "Whatever happens," she replied, "it has been an honor to fight beside you." The raiders charged forward for their final assault and stood beside an Empress, ready to face them together. The heavy weapons opened fire. Massive energy beams tore through the mining equipment like it was paper. The metal barrier that Anel used for cover began to melt. They had seconds before it failed completely. "Into the facility," shouted. "We need harder cover." The group ran for the mining building. Commander On and 2 guards provided covering fire. One guard fell, hit by 3 energy bolts at once. There was no time to help him. They had to keep moving. Reached the door first and forced it open. The others piled inside. He sealed it behind them and activated the emergency locks. The door was reinforced steel, designed to withstand mining accidents. It would hold for a while. The building shook as enemy fire hit the exterior walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. Through the windows could see dozens of raiders surrounding the structure. They were trapped. "The civilians," said suddenly. "We led the raiders right to them." "No," El pointed at his tactical display. "Look, human marines are evacuating them through the maintenance tunnels. The civilians are safe." Felt relief wash over him. At least something had gone right. The people he was trying to protect would survive. "We should use those same tunnels," On suggested. "We can escape while the raiders focus on the building." Shook his head. "The tunnels are too small for your armor. You would have to remove it and then you would be defenseless. Besides, the tunnels only go south. The raiders have that direction covered." "Then we make our stand here," El said calmly. She was breathing hard, her white and gold armor scorched and dented, but her eyes were steady, unafraid. Admired that. In the face of certain death, she showed no fear, only determination. "I know this facility," said. "There are tools here we can use. Heavy equipment, industrial cutters, maybe even some mining charges. We can make the raiders pay for every step." "Show us," El commanded. Led them deeper into the building. The facility was huge, filled with massive drills and ore processors. He grabbed a plasma cutter from a workbench and handed it to one of the guards. The warrior tested it and nodded approval. It was not a weapon, but it would cut through armor just fine. El found a storage locker filled with mining charges, small explosives used to break up rock. "These will serve," she said, distributing them among the group. The building shook again. The raiders were trying to break down the door. "Positions," ordered. He was surprised when the guards obeyed him without question. Even Commander On took up a defensive spot where indicated. They spread out across the main floor, using the heavy equipment for cover, found a control panel and activated the facility's industrial systems. Conveyor belts started moving. Ore processors rumbled to life. The noise was deafening, but it would make it harder for the raiders to coordinate. The front door exploded inward. Warriors poured through the opening. Opened fire, his borrowed pistol cutting down the first 3 raiders. The others scattered, taking cover behind equipment. El threw a mining charge. It detonated in the middle of a group of raiders, killing 4 of them. The blast also damaged one of the ore processors, which started spewing hot metal fragments across the floor. The raiders had to avoid the spray, limiting their movement. It was chaos, exactly what wanted. He had learned in the Marines that when you were outnumbered, you made the battlefield as messy as possible. Confusion favored the defender. A raider charged at El from behind, shot it twice. The raider stumbled but kept coming. El spun and drove her spear through its chest. The raider fell. "Thank you," she said. "We are even now," replied. But they both knew they were not even. They had saved each other multiple times already. They had stopped counting. More raiders entered the building. On used the plasma cutter to slice through their armor. The industrial tool was slow but devastating. Any raider that got close to him died quickly. His pistol finally ran dry. He threw it aside and grabbed a piece of metal pipe from a broken machine. It was crude, but it was heavy and solid. A raider came at him, swung the pipe like a bat, hitting the raider in the head. The creature's helmet cracked, hit it again, and again. The raider went down. He was covered in blood now, his own and the enemy's. His arms ached from fighting. His tactical display showed his heart rate was dangerously high. He ignored it all and kept fighting. Elle fought beside him, her spear moving like lightning. Despite the battle, despite the exhaustion, she still moved with grace. Realized she was not just an empress. She was a trained warrior, probably with years of combat experience. How did you learn to fight like that? He asked between strikes. All rulers must prove themselves in combat before they can claim the throne. I spent 10 years training with the greatest warriors of my people. And they let you come on a diplomatic mission. Seems risky. I insisted. How can I rule my people if I do not understand the galaxy they live in? How can I make peace if I hide in safety? Laughed, he could not help it. Here they were fighting for their lives, and she was giving him philosophy lessons. What is funny? Elle asked. You remind me of someone I knew in the Marines. She always said leaders should fight beside their soldiers, not behind them. She died protecting her squad. She sounds like a woman of honor. She was. The raiders were learning. They stopped charging blindly and started using coordinated tactics. They focused their fire on one guard at a time. On went down, his shields finally failing. He was still alive, but badly wounded. They were down to 4, Elle and 2 guards. Outside could hear the sound of human gunfire. Captain Cross and the Marines had broken through. They were fighting toward the building, but they were still too far away. A massive warrior entered the building. It was bigger than the others, wearing heavier armor, probably a commander. It carried a weapon that looked like a hammer, crackling with energy. The creature pointed at Elle and spoke in its harsh language. Did not understand the words, but the meaning was clear. It wanted the Empress. Stay behind me, said. No, Elle stepped forward. We face this together. The commander charged, and Elle met it head-on, swung his pipe at its legs while Elle attacked from above. The commander blocked both strikes and swung its hammer at. The blow caught him in the ribs, felt something break. He flew backward and hit a metal support beam. Pain exploded through his body. His vision went dark for a moment. When his eyes cleared, he saw the commander raising its hammer to strike Elle. She was on the ground, her spear knocked away. The creature was going to kill her. Forced himself to stand. Every breath was agony. He stumbled forward and threw himself at the commander, grabbing its arm. The tried to shake him off, but held on. He climbed onto the creature's back and wrapped his arm around its neck, choking it. The commander thrashed wildly, trying to throw him off, held on. He could feel his broken ribs grinding together. Black spots danced in his vision, but he did not let go. Elle grabbed her spear and drove it upward into the gap where the commander's helmet met its chest armor. The weapon pierced through. The commander shuddered and fell. Landed hard on the ground. He could not get up this time, could not breathe right. Blood filled his mouth. Elle knelt beside him. Stay with me, human. Do not die. Please do not die. Civilians safe? Asked. Yes, all safe. Then I did my job. Explosions rocked the building, but these were different. Human grenades, marine assault tactics. Captain Cross and her soldiers had arrived. The remaining raiders tried to retreat, but they were caught between the Marines and the remaining guards. The battle turned into a slaughter. Within minutes, every raider in the building was dead. Heard Captain Cross's voice. Secure the Empress. Get medical teams in here now. Soldiers poured into the building, their armor gleaming. They surrounded Elle protectively. One of them tried to pull her away from. No, Elle said firmly. He saved my life. He gets the same medical care I do. Carry him to the Royal Medical Bay. But Your Majesty, he is human. Our medical systems might not be compatible. Then make them compatible. That is an order. Strong hands lifted. Through the pain, he saw Elle walking beside him. She was wounded too, limping badly, but she refused to leave his side. Why? Asked weakly. Because you are a warrior of honor, Elle replied. And because you fought beside me when you could have woke up in a room he did not recognize. The walls were white and curved in ways that human architecture never used. Soft light came from everywhere and nowhere at once. The bed beneath him was incredibly comfortable, adjusting to his body automatically. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through his ribs, but it was manageable pain, not the agony he remembered from the battle. Do not move too quickly, a voice said, turned his head and saw in medical robes standing beside the bed. Your bones are healed, but the tissue is still repairing. You are lucky to be alive, human. Where am I? The Empress's personal medical facility aboard her flagship. You have been unconscious for 2 days. 2 days tried to process that. The colony, the civilians. Safe, the attack was repelled. Casualties were heavy, but far less than they could have been, thanks to you and Her Majesty. The doctor did something to a panel on the wall and felt the pain in his ribs fade even more. Whatever medicine was, it worked incredibly well. The Empress wishes to see you when you are recovered enough to walk. I will inform her that you are awake. Before could respond, the doctor left. He was alone with his thoughts for the first time since the battle. Everything felt unreal. He was a security officer from a mining colony. He should not be in the Empress's personal flagship. He should not be receiving royal medical care. None of this made sense. The door opened, expected the doctor, but instead Elle entered. She was not wearing her battle armor anymore. Instead, she wore elegant robes of silver and blue, but could see bandages on her arms and a healing wound on her neck. Your Majesty tried to stand to show proper respect. Please stay seated, Elle said gently. She pulled a chair close to his bed and sat down. We are past such formalities, I think. You may call me Elle when we are alone. That does not seem appropriate, Your Majesty. You saved my life 3 times during the battle. I saved yours twice. We bled together. In culture, that makes us blood bonded. Formality is unnecessary between bonded warriors. Did not know what to say to that. He settled for honesty. I am just a security officer. I did my job. You did far more than your job. My intelligence officers have reviewed the battle recordings. You could have retreated to safety multiple times. Instead, you held your ground to protect civilians. Then you helped me fight when you could have left me to die. Why? Because it was the right thing to do. Elle smiled. It was the first time I'd seen her smile. It transformed her face, making her seem younger. That answer tells me everything I need to know about your character. She reached into her robes and pulled out a small crystal. It glowed with inner light, shifting colors like a rainbow. This is an honor crystal. It is given to warriors who show exceptional courage and sacrifice. I want you to have it. Took the crystal carefully. It was warm to the touch. I do not deserve this. You deserve it more than most who wear them, but there is something else we need to discuss, something more complicated. Elle's expression turned serious. In law, when someone saves the life of a member of the royal family, a life debt is created. This debt must be acknowledged and honored. I am offering you a position as a liaison between humanity and the Empire. You would work directly with me, helping to build stronger relations between our peoples. Stared at her. Your Majesty, I am not a diplomat. I am a soldier. I would not know how to do that job. Exactly. You are not a politician who will say careful words and hide the truth. You are honest, direct. These are the qualities I need. Too many people tell me what they think I want to hear. You will tell me what I need to hear. There must be hundreds of people more qualified than me. Qualified on paper, perhaps, but they did not fight beside me. They did not prove themselves when everything fell apart. You did. Looked at the honor crystal in his hand. Can I think about it? Of course, take all the time you need. But you should know that the galactic situation is complicated right now. The attack was not random. We have evidence that it was planned to destroy human relations. Someone wanted us to blame each other for the deaths. That made angry. The raiders killed good people, they attacked civilians, and it was all to start a war. Yes, and there are forces in the galaxy that would benefit from such a war. If humans and fight each other, we both become weaker. Our enemies become stronger. Then we cannot let them win. No, we cannot, which is why I need people like you. People who understand that cooperation makes us stronger. The door opened again. Captain Helen Cross entered, wearing her dress uniform. She looked uncomfortable in the elegant medical bay, but she saluted sharply. Officer, good to see you awake. The Empress has been very worried about you. Captain, what is the status of the colony? Rebuilding. We lost 37 people in the attack, including 8 civilians. Could have been much worse. The guards gave us the tactical data. They said you saved the Empress's life multiple times. Shook his head. She saved mine just as often. We fought together. Captain Cross looked at Elle, then back at. The Empress has requested that you be given a commendation from the Colonial Defense Force. The paperwork is already approved. You are getting a promotion to lieutenant and a transfer to diplomatic security if you want it. I have not decided if I want it. Well, decide quickly, because there is a situation developing. The Horde is demanding that we return their captured raiders. They say if we do not, they will consider it an act of war. Elle stood up, her expression hardening. They attacked us without provocation. They killed civilians. They tried to assassinate me. We will not surrender the prisoners. They have a large fleet, Captain Cross said carefully. If they attack, the colony cannot withstand another assault. Then they will face the Imperial fleet. I'm declaring this colony under my personal protection. Any attack on it is an attack on me. Saw the weight of that decision. The Empress was risking war to protect a human colony, because of him, because of what happened during the battle. Your Majesty, you do not have to do this, said. Yes, I do. Honor demands it, and more than that, friendship demands it. You stood with me when you had no reason to. I will stand with you. Captain Cross looked relieved. Thank you, Your Majesty. I will inform the Colonial Council immediately. After the captain left, Elle turned back to, there is a council meeting in 3 days. Representatives from multiple galactic powers will be there. They will present their demands. I need someone to testify about what really happened during the attack. Someone the council will believe. You want me to speak at this council? I need you to. Your testimony will prove that they are lying about the attack. It will show that they came to kill, not to negotiate. Felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. If I do this, if I stand up in front of the Galactic Council, it will change my life. I will never be just a security officer again. No, you will not. You will be something more, something important, but only if you choose it. I will not force you. Thought about the civilians he had protected, about the guards who died fighting beside him, about Elle standing in the middle of a battlefield, refusing to abandon her honor. He thought about his sister back on Earth. She had always told him he was meant for something bigger than colony security. Maybe she was right. I will do it, said. I will testify, I will work as your liaison, but I have conditions. Elle raised an eyebrow. You negotiate with an Empress. You are braver than I thought. I want the families of everyone who died in the attack to be taken care of. Human and education for the children, financial support, everything they need. Agreed, what else? I want to stay who I am. No fancy titles, no political games. If I see something wrong, I will say it, even if it makes people uncomfortable. Especially if it makes people uncomfortable, Elle said with a smile. That is exactly why I want you for this position. Do we have an agreement? She extended her hand in the human custom, shook it, feeling the strength in her grip. We have an agreement. Outside the medical bay, the flagship moved through space. Inside, a security officer from a mining colony had just become something more. 3 months had passed since the battle on Arcturus Prime. Stood in the Empress's council chamber, wearing a uniform that still felt strange on him. It was a blend of human and design, marking him as something unique in the galaxy, a bridge between two civilizations. The chamber was massive, with walls that showed the stars outside. Representatives from a dozen species sat in a circle, each in their own section with their own guards. The delegation sat across from, their representatives glaring at him with obvious hatred. Elle sat on her throne at the head of the chamber. She wore her formal robes and crown, every bit the powerful ruler, but had seen her fight with a spear, bleeding and exhausted, but never giving up. He knew the warrior beneath the royal image. This council recognizes liaison to the Empire, the council speaker announced. You may present your testimony regarding the attack on Arcturus Prime. Stepped forward, every eye in the chamber was on him. He had faced down raiders without fear, but this was different. This was politics, and politics made him nervous. 3 months ago, the Horde attacked the mining colony where I worked, began. His voice was steady, even though his hands wanted to shake. They did not come to negotiate. They did not issue warnings. They came to kill. He activated a holographic display. Images from the battle appeared, recorded by security cameras and tactical systems. The council watched as raiders slaughtered civilians, as they focused their attack on the Empress's convoy, as they brought heavy weapons designed for wholesale destruction. The claim they were responding to human aggression continued. But the evidence shows they planned this attack weeks in advance. They knew the Empress would be visiting. They knew the colony's defenses. They came prepared for war. One of the representatives stood up, its massive form intimidating even in the peaceful chamber. The human lies. We acted in self-defense against expansion into our territory. Arcturus Prime has been a human colony for 5 years, replied calmly. It is nowhere near territory. Your forces traveled 3 weeks to reach it. That is not self-defense. That is invasion. El spoke up. The evidence is clear. The attack was designed to kill me and blame humanity for it. They wanted our two peoples to go to war with each other. The council chamber erupted in arguments. Different species shouted at each other in multiple languages. The speaker had to call for order 3 times before everyone settled down. Notice something during the chaos. Several representatives seemed unsurprised by the accusations. They had known about the plot, maybe even supported it. The council session lasted for hours, answered every question, provided every piece of evidence. He described the battle in detail, explaining how he and the Empress had fought side by side, how inhuman soldiers had worked together to save lives. Finally, the council speaker called for a vote, all in favor of condemning the attack and supporting the human alliance. 7 species voted in favor, 3 voted against, 2 abstained. It was enough they had lost. The delegation stormed out of the chamber, their representatives shouting threats. But they were empty threats now. The galaxy knew the truth. After the council session ended, found himself alone with Elle in her private quarters. She had removed her crown and sat looking exhausted. "We won," said. "We survived," Elle corrected. "But this is far from over. Did you see which species voted against us?" "The Collective, the Unified Clans, and the Merchant Federation." "Exactly, 3 powerful groups that would benefit from humans and destroying each other. They will try again, using different methods." Sat down across from her. Over the past 3 months, he had learned to read her moods. She was worried about something beyond the council vote. "What is really bothering you?" he asked. Elle smiled slightly. "You know me too well already. My intelligence officers discovered something. The attack was funded by the Merchant Federation. They paid the raiders to start a war. Then we should expose them. We have no proof that would satisfy the council. The Federation covered their tracks well. All we have is intercepted communications and financial records that could be explained away." "Thought about this? Then we need to make them expose themselves," set a trap. "What kind of trap?" "The Federation thinks we are weak because we value honor and cooperation. They think we will play by the rules, so we let them think they are winning. We feed them false information about our alliance having problems. They will move to exploit that weakness, and when they do, we catch them." Elle considered this. That is a very human strategy, deceptive but effective. "Is that a yes?" "It is a yes. Work with my intelligence officers. Create this trap of yours, but be careful. These are dangerous games." Stood to leave, but Elle called him back. "I want to ask you something personal. Do you regret your decision to become my liaison?" "No, why would I?" "Because your life was simpler before. You had a quiet job, a safe routine. Now you are involved in galactic politics, making enemies among powerful species. That is a heavy burden." Thought about the question seriously. "I watched 8 civilians die on Arcturus Prime. Good people who just wanted to work and provide for their families. If I can prevent that from happening again, if I can help build something better, then the burden is worth it. You remind me why I chose you. Your moral clarity is refreshing in a galaxy full of complicated motives." Over the next few weeks, worked with intelligence to create his trap. They leaked information through carefully chosen channels. False reports of disagreements between human and leadership. Fake communications suggesting the alliance was weakening. The Merchant Federation took the bait. They began moving assets into position, preparing for what they thought would be a collapse of human cooperation. Their communications became less careful, more confident. That was when and the intelligence team struck. They intercepted everything. Financial records, communications, proof of the Federation's involvement in the Arcturus Prime attack. Presented the evidence to Elle in her private office. She reviewed it carefully, her expression growing darker with each page. "This is enough," she finally said. "We can destroy the Federation's credibility in the Galactic Council." "But should we?" asked. Elle looked at him with surprise. "You argued for this trap. Why hesitate now?" "Because destroying them makes them desperate. Desperate people do dangerous things. Maybe we use this evidence as leverage instead. Force them to support our alliance publicly. Make them help build what they tried to destroy." Elle was quiet for a long moment, then she laughed. It was a genuine sound of delight. You think like a diplomat now? When did that happen? I learned from watching you. You always look for the solution that makes everyone stronger, not just yourself. Then we will do it your way. We will turn an enemy into an ally through careful pressure. The next council session was different. The Merchant Federation representative agreed to support new trade agreements between humans and they pledged resources to rebuild Arcturus Prime. They became, at least publicly, supporters of the alliance. Knew it was not real friendship. It was self-interest and fear of exposure, but it was a start. More species began requesting to join the alliance. They saw that humans and working together created opportunities. Within months, the alliance had grown from 2 species to 7. Stood on the observation deck of the flagship watching the stars. Elle joined him, as she often did during quiet moments. I received a message from your sister today, Elle said. She is very proud of you. You talked to my sister. Of course, she is family to someone important to me. I wanted her to know you are well and doing good work. Smiled, thank you for that. I also invited her to visit the flagship next month. I thought you might want to see her. I would like that very much. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars move past, thought about how much had changed. He had been a simple security officer, content with a quiet life. Now he was helping shape the future of multiple civilizations. Do you ever think about that day? Asked. The battle on Arcturus Prime. Every day, Elle replied quietly. It changed everything. If I had not seen you fighting alone, if I had not chosen to help you, none of this would exist. Do you regret it, all the complications it created? Never. That day, I learned something important. I learned that courage exists in all species, that honor is not limited to, and I learned that the most unlikely friendships can change the galaxy. An alert sounded on his communication device. New reports of raids along the frontier. A different group this time, testing the alliance's resolve. Looks like we have work to do, said. We always have work to do. Such is the price of building something better. They walked together toward the command center. The Empress and the former security officer, now friends and partners in reshaping the galaxy. Behind them, through the observation windows, new stars appeared. New opportunities, new challenges. Had wanted a simple life. Instead, he got something better. He got a purpose. He got to stand beside someone who valued honor and courage. He got to make a real difference. And as he looked at Elle, discussing plans for addressing the new threats, he realized something important. That desperate moment on Arcturus Prime, when he chose to fight instead of run, had been the most significant decision of his life. He had fought alone against impossible odds. An Empress had seen him and chose to stand beside him. Together, they had changed the galaxy. And they were just getting started. The galaxy was about to change, and was at the center of it all. And that creates a bond, human, a bond that my people take very seriously. His eyes closed. The last thing he heard was Elle's voice, commanding her doctors to save him. And for the first time in hours, let himself rest. But he could try. Activated his helmet recorder. This is Security Officer, badge number 743. If anyone finds this, tell my sister that I love her. Tell her I did my job. He stood up from behind the barrier and started walking toward the enemy. His rifle barked with each step. The raiders turned to face him. Energy bolts filled the air. Kept walking, kept firing, kept fighting. He was alone, but he would not surrender. Not while people needed protecting. Not while there was still breath in his body.